Lightsaber Samurai here, and I'm back again for another video, and this time it is to go over hidden gems for quite possibly my favorite system of all time. That is, of course, the original PlayStation 1. I do believe it is about that time. Let's get into it. Alrighty, taking a look at the first game on our lovely list is Ninja Shadow of Darkness, and if you watch my first live stream, you know that this game has a bit of a special place in my heart. It is the first game that I played on the PlayStation 1 when we got our own in Christmas of '98. Takes place in ancient Japan. You see here two warlords fighting at a stalemate. Basically meet together to have a truce, although one warlord is unsatisfied with that result, sells his soul to demons in order to grant himself demonic power and unleash this horde of enemies upon the land. Real quick shout out to these loading screens. I love the artwork in these loading screens. So this game was developed by, I want to say, I can't remember if it was Core or Crystal Dynamics, but it's basically the same team that created Tomb Raider 3. And oddly enough, we got this game and Tomb Raider 3 both for Christmas. These are the two launch games, or the two starting games we had with our system. And going in the gameplay here, you see it's basically a 3D beat 'em up with an isometric style. You can see here they've got hidden items and traps as well. This, you can see kind of the influence in the Tomb Raider series in it. Like I said, you see obstacles and traps like this. There's even a little bit of like puzzle solving. But I just remember when I first played this game when it came out, I just thought the graphics at the time were actually very cool. Even though even back then I thought his head was a little bit too square. But like I said, I miss most of the 16-bit generation, and so basically going from the NES and my Game Boy to this was a crazy change. And like I, you know, at the time I was like, man, this is real. I always thought these little crab things was really gross looking. Going into the forest here, this part here with the thunderstorm was one of my favorite parts of the game as well. I always thought that was very cool. He has an unlimited supply of throwing knives that can be powered up. You see your power meter in the bottom right corner there, and that dictates the strength of your attacks as well as what style of magic you're using at the time. That your magic attacks can also be powered up. One of the cool things about this game is that every mission ends with a boss battle. Like you see here, he's creeping out of the forest area only to be attacked by this giant beast, whatever he is. And, you know, looks pretty intimidating, but, you know, once you learn the boss's patterns, they go down just like any boss. At the end of the mission, you'll get a bonus screen showing you your stats, and then in between missions, you'll come into the store here, and you can actually use the money you earned in missions to buy things like food to replenish your health, because it doesn't replenish on its own. This game is a bit on the tougher side overall, but it's very enjoyable, and it's actually quite cheap. So if you see Ninja Shadow of Darkness, be sure to pick it up. Right now it goes for anywhere between $5 and $10, so check it out. Alrighty, moving right along here, and Assault Retribution is the next title on the list. And if you're looking for something, a shoot 'em up in the style of, say, something like Contra. Actually, there was a Contra game that came out on the original PlayStation, and for all intents and purposes, it was trash. It wasn't very good at all. It didn't hold true to the 16 or the 8-bit games at all. And this kind of plays in a similar fashion to that Contra game, but it's done much better, much better in my opinion. Unfortunately, it's just a game nobody really heard of. The game takes place, plays these two super soldiers, Reno Washington and Kelly Doyle. Let's switch to Kelly here. And like I said, it's basically a gritty, it kind of goes into side-scrolling, kind of goes in the top-down shooting. You'll see more of that in a bit. but I thought that was one of the cool things about the game is the perspective. And you're just running and gunning down hordes of these alien-like bugs. And like I said, it's a blast to play. I enjoy it a lot. The game also has a 2-player co-op mode that I couldn't capture for you because I don't have any friends, but do take my word for it. It does have a co-op mode, and from what I hear, it's actually pretty dope. So you see here, I got a weapon power up. You can power up your shots you see she's got a little option floating around her, so you can increase how many bullets spread out at a time. And like I said, just a very cool game overall. The explosions look nice. The graphics, I like the graphics in this game, kind of dark and gritty. They kind of remind me of the graphics in a shooting game called Einhander, also on the PlayStation 1. You see here, you kind of switch perspective, and now she's going in more of a top-down mode. You can also grab different weapons, and you have unlimited ammo, but you have an energy bar that depletes as you fire off shots. The energy bar will deplete faster depending on the weapon you're using, but through non-use it powers up on its own. So anyway, long story short, great game, a great multiplayer game to play couch co-op. So if you see this one, also a cheap game, check it out. Alrighty, going into a late title that came out, and this was Delta Force that came out on the original PlayStation. I want to say around 2000, 2001. When this game came out, the PlayStation 2 had already dropped. You can see here the graphics in the game. The character models look terrible. They were trying to show a little more detail, though, as you can see, compared to games of the genre like Siphon Filter or Metal Gear Solid. But actually going into the gameplay, now the graphics on this is pretty. They're pretty solid, and these are some, in my opinion, as far as first-person shooters go on the system, these are some of the best graphics. My favorite first-person shooter on the system is probably Medal of Honor 1 and Medal of Honor Underground. And, considering the production values that went in those games, I think this looks quite a bit better than that. Like I said, you got different modes, infrared mode, a night vision mode, headshots count, and not all games in this generation did that. Actually, one of the first games I can think of was Siphon Filter that actually registered headshots, and so this game does that as well. Medal of Honor did it too, but like I said, there was a handful of games, and this is one of them. And like I said, you even got the zoom function there. It's not quite ADS like you saw in some of the games that came out in the following decade, but like I said, it's very serviceable. All in all, a solid game worth the price of admission. If you see Delta Force, Guerrilla Warfare, definitely scoop it up. Alright, moving on. Next game on the list is Blaster Master Blasting Again, and this is a sequel to the game that came out on the original NES. It's one of my top 10 favorite games on the NES was Blaster Master. They had a sequel that came out on the Genesis that was trash, I heard, but this one, it moves into 3D for the first time on the PlayStation, and honestly, I don't think it's quite as good as the NES original, but it's definitely a solid title in the series. First off, just disregard that kind of black lining you see on the left side of the screen there. I'm capturing this on a PS3, and that artifact, I think, is a result of the emulation from that. So playing this on a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 for that matter, you won't see that. Moving on, you play as the son of the protagonist from the NES games, and he's since passed away, but the alien threat has resurfaced, and so it's basically just an extermination mission. You're wiping out all the aliens. As you can see here, you can hop out of the vehicle just like you could in the NES version, and you're still just as formidable outside your vehicle as you are inside. Like I said, not a whole lot I can say about this game. I haven't played a lot of it. I just cracked it open the other day, but I wanted to add it because I didn't even know this game exists. I just ran into it on chance, just bought it sight unseen. Like I said, I picked up the game for $6.99 at my local retro gaming store, and looking around it doesn't seem to go for much more than that. That's about the price it goes for. And for that, like I said, it seems like a solid title. The graphics are pretty good on it. The music is cool. It's actually got remix music from the original NES game. Again, not quite as good as the original, but definitely a worthy title in the series. And so if you see it, definitely pick it up. It's Blaster Master Blasting Again. Alright, and here we are, the final game on the list, and that is Omega Boost. And Omega Boost was developed by Polyphony Digital. These are the same guys that did the Gran Turismo series, and so the graphics in this definitely stand out just like those games did. One of the things I like about this, you saw the cool FMV openings on that, and that just blew my mind when the original PlayStation came out and I saw that it can do full motion video. And just, you know, I thought that was the future. So moving into it here, this is a basically it's a rail shooter. It's kind of a cross between a rail shooter and a free flight simulation. You can move 360 degrees at all times, but you know, basically it puts you in a group of enemies, and then you move on when you destroy that group of enemies. This is very much a boss rush game, and you know, you'll fight multiple bosses per stage. This game is hella fun though. It reminds me a lot gameplay wise of kind of a cross between Panzer Dragoon and Zone of the Enders. So if you see this title, this one's starting to rise in price, but as of now you can still get it for under 30 bucks. So if you see Omega Boost, definitely snatch this up. This is definitely, again, one of my top 10 favorite games on the PlayStation. That's all I got for you this time, but lay it down in the comments below. What are some titles you think that I could cover next time for Hidden Gems for the original PlayStation? If you like the video and you like this content, then please bless a Negro with a subscription or two. I really appreciate it. Couple of likes, you know, couple of notifications, ring my bell a little bit. But as always, I'm Lightsaber Samurai. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and until next time.